What's going on, everybody? C4 here. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're continuing our 32-team 7-round 2020 NFL Draft Mock Draft Mocking Series with the team that holds the number 24 pick in the first round, and that is the win now, Super Bowl or bust, final year of Drew Brees' contract, New Orleans Saints. So through the power of Madden 20, before we get into the mock draft, we're going to look at the moves that they made in free agency and figure out what and how we can best assess their needs and their holes so that we can get them pro-ready players they're going to be able to contribute now, as well as maybe for the new era of New Orleans that will start next season with no more Drew Brees under center. So looking at the offense here, not a lot of changes on the offense, but they made some big money moves, I guess you could say. First, they paid Andrews Pete, I thought, pretty ridiculous money, but when protecting Drew Brees in his final year is top priority, I guess it kind of makes sense. But the rest of it remains pretty much the same as one of the better offenses in the NFL. As long as you're not getting playoff Drew Brees, unless he regressed to, like, what is he, 39, 40? He's 40. Unless you regress to being a 40-year-old man and not a 40-year-old Drew Brees, which is what we saw in the playoff game, you're probably going to have a good shot next year at competing. And it helps that much more when you bring in a guy like Emmanuel Sanders. An excellent compliment to be able to work with and around what you got in Michael Thomas. It's one hell of a playmaker. The rich get richer when you bring in a guy like Emmanuel Sanders. When you look at the draft, maybe you could consider getting Drew Brees' replacement if you feel comfortable with one of the quarterbacks that are there at 24. But most likely, if you want to get Drew Brees' replacement, you're probably got to trade up from that 24 spot. But the offense looks good, man. And I still can't believe last year they didn't have a first-round pick, and they still found a way to get Eric McCoy and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Insanity. Really, really good draft last year from this front office. Hopefully I can do the same when we get to the mock draft. Now, flipping to the defense for the New Orleans Saints, not a lot of changes as well. Front four remains pretty much the same. Linebacker core remains the same. Cornerback pairings remains the same. They brought back Jack Rabbit. You got Lattimore. You got P-Rob in the nickel spot. Could get a little bit younger, which we will actually have them doing in this draft, especially getting one of my favorite players. But the big splash move on the defense was he's coming home. Malcolm Jenkins leaving my Philadelphia Eagles, which is kind of annoying, and going to New Orleans. Yeah, I mean, obviously you have Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who's a hybrid. You can play everything, corner. You can play safety. You can play nickel. You can play linebacker. A guy like Malcolm Jenkins also brings that versatility. He's going to be a great guy to pick the brain of if you are Chauncey Gardner-Johnson for the long-term development. Malcolm Jenkins obviously brings a high-level play. Athletically, he is regressing just a little bit. Last season, there was times when just speed guys were going to give him a headache, but still he brings a lot of value to the locker room, a lot of value on field. It's like having a second coach out there. It was a very good move. You bring in Malcolm Jenkins, you bring in Emmanuel Sanders, both fit the mold of a win-now team. So now let's hop into the 7-round mock draft, see how we can get a little bit younger, all while trying to help the on-field product for the Saints next year. Let's go. So the Saints are on the clock now at pick 24 in the first round. Why are them staying in state and selecting Patrick Queen, linebacker from LSU, 6 feet tall, 230 pounds, really good athlete, 4.50 at the combine, your 2020 prototypical NFL linebacker. And really, there's a couple good ones in the class, but he's as good as it gets, sideline-to-sideline ability right away. He's an immediate upgrade, and we'll get the center of that defense, the center of the linebacking core. I think he's an upgrade over Kiko Alonso. He's a day one starter. When you're in a win-now mood, you got that Drew Brees, final year, most likely of his career. Life beyond Drew Brees is uncertain, to say the best. I don't really believe and buy into the Taysom Hill hype. Probably, I think there's going to be a little bit of decision-making done at that quarterback spot. Maybe at pick 24, they trade up and try to get a quarterback in the first round. But for right now, it's a win-now mode for the New Orleans Saints, and they need to find guys that can come in and contribute and help them next season as they go all in to win one final Super Bowl. And I think you get that with Patrick Queen. He's a day one starter, and to add that, he's only 20 years old. So he has a year, at least, age difference on some of the other top linebackers in this class. Very high ceiling for a linebacking core that generally needs to get younger. You got Kiko Alonso, Robertson, Demario Davis. All these guys are nearing the end or at the end of their prime. And I think a guy like Patrick Queen infuses some youth to that linebacking core. And I think they get some good, valuable starting minutes from him as a rookie. Now, they don't pick for 64 picks. They're sitting very patiently as they wait to the third round at pick 88, where they get one of my favorite players in this class, Amik Robertson, corner from Louisiana Tech, staying in the state, 5'8", 190 pounds. I'm higher on him than most. He's a small school honey badger. His tape really reminds me of Tyrann Mathieu while he was at LSU, minus the special teams ability. Excellent tape, elite production, 180 tackles, 23 TFLs, 48 pass breakups, and 14 interceptions in his career. I think there's a bunch of versatility you can bring. If Patrick Robinson is still going to be your starting nickel corner, which he was outstanding when he was in Philadelphia. He was a very, very underrated and valuable to our Super Bowl victory. He could be his heir because Patrick Robinson's in his 30s. Or he could be the heir to Malcolm Jenkins at free safety. You know, I think long-term, looking at that Saints secondary, they bring Amik Robinson, and you pair that with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who I thought was I thought the fact that the Saints somehow not having any premier picks got Eric McCoy and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson last year was sensational work from them from a front office standpoint. And they get Amik Robertson and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson as their key players in the next 3-4 years in their secondary. I'm going to be jealous because those are two of my favorite draft prospects that have come out over the last 2 years. So Amik Robertson, very versatile defensive back, very exciting tape. And again, a guy thinking more so long-term, but there's no way in hell this guy stays on the field as a rookie. He will make some plays. Going to the 4th round at pick 130, I'm selecting Jalen Hurts, quarterback from Oklahoma, 6'1", 220 pounds. Now, this one's a little bit more tricky because no one knows where he's going to go. Depending on where you're looking at your draft content and your rankings, you can see Jalen Hurts going in the 1st round. You can see him going in the 2nd round. You can see him going UDFA. So I personally have him as a day 3 player. And I think that, obviously, when you go Jalen Hurts, he's a dual-threat quarterback with excellent leadership skills, very powerful runner. And I think you look at all the teams in the NFL. I made a tweet about this the other day. I think New Orleans is the perfect landing spot because either he'll grow. They got a lot of good QB minds. Sean Payton's been able to get the most of his quarterbacks. I think he's going to grow there and develop and sit behind and be able to pick Drew Brees' brain and go to a very valuable landing spot. As valuable as, say, whatever quarterback. I think we had Anthony Gordon going to the Bucs to sit and learn behind Arians and Tom Brady. You can have it with Jalen Hurts, and if he can develop, obviously you can see the play styles are kind of similar. Jalen Hurts could develop into a Dak-level starter in the NFL, and that's good enough with a guy like Sean Payton and the offensive scheme they had there in New Orleans to win. Or, hey, it doesn't work out with Jalen Hurts. Well, you only spent a 4th-round pick on him, and you can replace Taysom Hill, who's going to be a free agent in 2021. Now, we don't know if really we're going to buy into the hype where Payton's saying, Taysom Hill can be our successor to Drew Brees or not, but we'll just assume that there's a chance he walks in free agency next year, and to have that utility quarterback, that weapon, I think a guy like Jalen Hurts fits that athletic profile fairly well and might be able to step into that role in case he doesn't develop and reaches a plateau as an actual quarterback prospect. But his lack of elite arm talent can't be fixed, but his horrible anticipation and his reading the defense can. I think there's a chance he could emerge as a serviceable quarterback in the NFL in the New Orleans Saints scheme, a year behind sitting Drew Brees and learning from Sean Payton. Going to the 5th round at pick 169, I'm selecting L'Jarius Sneed, safety from Louisiana Tech. That's 3 straight Louisiana boys, 6 feet tall, 190 pounds. Sneed brings flexibility. He can play corner. He's had safety experience. I think more so he's going to be a corner, but he could be a safety because he, looking at the scouting reports, seems like he played corner, then moved to safety, team need, and he didn't play as good at safety as he did at corner. But he had a huge combine, 4.37, 41-inch vert. I can see him go higher, but there is questions over what his true position will be. And unlike, say, someone like Isaiah Simmons or Kyle Duggar or Jerry Chan, like all these big freaky hybrid guys, those guys have the proven talent that like they're going to be able to find a way to get on the field and rookie and make a play as a linebacker, as a safety or something like that. But a guy like Sneed maybe a little less so because he is strictly a defensive back. So I think they'll have him go mid-late day 3. But the ceiling is there with the athletic profile alone and the aggressiveness that he could play and excel on special teams, but just add more depth to the Saints secondary. And then finishing up the draft in the 6th round to pick 203, I'm selecting Jeff Thomas, wide receiver from Miami, 5'8", 170 pounds, deep threat, who does have some off-the-field concerns, but might be my favorite late day 3 wide receiver. The talent is there, but he does have the big red flags, had issues in 2018 and 2019 with Miami, which could unfortunately derail his career. That's why we were getting him in the 6th round. He might slip to the 7th round. He could slip to UDFA, honestly. But you look at it, he has the speed, ran 4.4 at the combine. He has, for that profile of 5'8", 170, some pretty solid jump ball ability. He will go up and get the ball. He'll snag it when really a guy of that profile shouldn't do that. Now, that was at a college level. Probably won't be able to get away with that in the NFL, but being an outside wide receiver that can make plays downfield, you're always going to have that in Jeff Thomas. And I think getting that in the 6th round, getting a little bit more explosiveness to complement what they have, or maybe, because Ted Ginn's obviously super old. Is he even under contract? Couldn't tell you. But it could be a replacement there. But it's just more speed outside at wide receiver, which is exactly what they need. I know they lost Keith Kirkwood, who's their depth speed guy. guy like Jeff Thomas can come in and fill in that void. So there you go, guys. That is my 7-round mock draft here for the New Orleans Saints. As always, let me know in the comment section below if you agree or disagree with the picks that we talked about here today. Thank you for watching. If it's your first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. Smash the like button if you enjoyed. Until next time, it's C4 saying peace out.